Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About War Games, the podcast where we talk about war games, believe it or not. Back again in a shorter period of time, told you we would be back. Can you believe it? I am Jack, and with me here today, as he always is, ever present, the ever present Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hello. I'm glad we're able to do it, 2 per year now.
We're shooting for the moon with this one. Maybe we'll even make 3 this year. Who knows?
Ooh.
Wow. I'm glad that we managed to get back in the saddle so quickly again after that last one. It feels nice. It feels good to be back in this fun space that we've created where we talk about war games in this podcast where we talk about war games. As you said before, the world needs to talk about war games.
And hey, as we're doing this more regularly, I'm gonna start looking at the website again. Maybe we can start doing some YouTube stuff. We can get right back into it.
YouTube poops, but for war games.
We can do that. I'll let you lead that initiative though.
You will lead that initiative?
I'll let you lead the YouTube poop initiative.
The YouTube poop initiative. If you know how to do, if you know if you're good at video editing, call me. I have some ideas for that would be funny to probably just Joe and I and no one else.
Yep.
Anyway, today we are going to be talking about, as you probably saw in the tin here, 40k Warhammer 40k in wargaming. The monolith, the behemoth, the thing that obscures everything else. It's Normandy 1944 and 40k, isn't it?
That's pretty funny.
It's everywhere. I mean, it's unavoidable. It's been the big thing in the wargaming sphere since forever. Like a lot of people don't even consider it a war game because it's so its own thing at this
Yeah.
point. But I mean, it is. It
Oh yeah.
really is. Uh,
And all the
so
games we're gonna be talking about today are specifically war games.
could talk about some of the non-war game 40k games. About
I mean, we could.
the one where you're an orc and you're like chopping people or whatever.
Shoot us
I
blood
don't.
and teeth.
Yeah, I guess that one. I didn't play it. I don't know. You're the 40k expert here, man. I'm
I
just
am.
along for the ride.
I've been playing the 40Ks in one way, shape, or another since I was but a wee lad. When I wandered into a Games Workshop because of Lord of the Rings, and they gave me a Space Marine model.
You know how they were there. The
Oh yeah.
Battle of Minas Tirith
Mm-hmm.
in
I have.
Pelennor Fields. Our good friend Captain Titus, whatever of the Space Marines, was there with Aragorn. He showed up
Yeah,
on the ship.
you get one Blood Angel down there, and Sauron's got a lot to worry about.
You get one Space Marine anywhere. You got a lot to worry about.
All right, Space Marine, one Tactical Marine, non-Primaris versus Galadriel. Let's go.
Versus orcs. Actually, that's a matchup I want to see. What it 40k orcs against Lord of the Rings orcs. Big
The
fight.
40K orcs are gonna win.
Does the Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator, that thing, does that have the various flavors of orcs? I mean,
Okay.
yeah, the 40k orcs will win, but I want to watch.
All right. Yeah, like Lord of the Rings orcs. Let's put our hats on here and get into this.
Sorry, we're going
Those
into a diversion here.
This is an important one. We got to establish different variety of orc. So Lord of the Rings orcs, right? The non-Urukai. Those are smaller than a man, scrawnier. Sad
Goblins.
mockery of life.
Goblins. Okay, that's being a little bit racist here, but okay, that's fine.
Literally a mockery of life. They created as such. uh, and then you have the fighting Uruks, which are basically orc men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crafted to be that good. So even there, you have like parity with a human trained and who's 12 weeks older of the shit.
And then there's Urukai.
Those are the falls into the wider
Are they in the fighting orc category? Is there like a third category?
Um. So there's Mordor Uruks and
Yes.
there's Isengard Uruks, and they are
Yes.
different, but both
Yes.
are still you know quality as much as we get into that. And then you have Warhammer orcs, which are like 7 feet tall slabs of muscle that feel no pain and can will machinery into working order. Also, they reproduce through spores ad nauseum, are impossible to root out of a place once they get stuck in there. It would be a mess.
For what it's worth, I think that no, you're right. The 40k orcs would win.
Oh yeah,
Anyway,
there's not even a chance.
no, it's not close. They have guns.
They do have guns.
Nothing else.
Guns are effective, and even ones that don't.
Anyway.
Oh
Anyway,
yes, the long
so we
history
have
of the
so
grim
many
dark future.
40k properties, both across board and digital, if you can
Oh,
believe it.
are we going to touch board games too? We're going to
We
touch
have to
tabletop
mention
games?
we have to mention the 40k base game itself, you know.
Sure, we can definitely do that. Here's my hot take for the day: don't play
Go ahead.
40k.
Oh, we're doing an episode on it. The first thing you say is stay away. What's going on? Tell me about that.
The miniature game now, for me, being an old broken man of 31, is so far up its own weedy ass that it's not worth getting into.
What does that mean?
I mean, alright, back in my day,
Back
it
in your
was a
day.
war game where you had two forces, you had objectives. Things kind of made sense in terms of the statistics applied to models and the rules that governed play. Now, they removed a lot of the granularity that makes it a war game, put a lot more into stratagems, which are little things you spend command points to do on your turn or in opposing turns to modify the battlefield and your units. And it's a lot more. Okay, it's not for me. I can see why people still enjoy it because there's a lot of theory crafting of list building to make an army, then take it to the tabletop and play 40k.
I see. So it's
I
more
want.
based around the meta of building an army rather than the strategy of playing it on the field.
Yes, the game is won or lost in list building, and that I will not be dissuaded from that perspective.
Okay.
To illustrate some of the changes that threw me off when I tried playing 9th edition, and okay, all this has to go without saying that there's a 10th edition coming out, and I have not paid enough attention to know what they're changing, but I know they're changing a lot. But for example, back in my day, I
Back in your
had a
day.
tank. A tank would have a front, two sides, and a rear, each with its own armor value, and it would have a separate chart for what happens when that armor was penetrated. You know, you could stun the crew, it could lose a weapon, what have you. Now tanks just have 18 HP, hit them,
Oh.
HP goes down, they're done.
Oh.
There used to be arcs of fire. There used to be, they simplified cover to the point that it's kind of. It reminds me of a. Not a MOBA, but like Dawn of War 3 to Dawn of War 1. Let's do
Uh,
that. Let's go there. See, this is my controversial opinions. I will go hard on 40k. And it's a pity because I have a crap ton of 40k models. I enjoy the lore. I enjoy the video games, and I've tried periodically to get back into it. But I find that if you're going to play on the tabletop, you'll have much more fun playing a third-party rule set like Xenos Rampant or something and using your 40k miniatures. Because at least then the game doesn't take 4 hours of someone listing off a million rules that you're supposed to have memorized for their army to explain why your guys are dead turn one and they have a 2-up rerollable armor save plus an invulnerable save. It gets so wacky that it doesn't feel like I'm playing a war game.
Jeezy Pete's.
Yeah, so I mean, for those who are in my boat and who aren't furiously unsubscribing for everything because I'm not playing Warhammer 40k, but talking smack, I prefer Xenos Rampant, and I like one-page rules, Grimdark Future. Those are my two alternative 40k games, so my minis still see some daylight here and there.
If you want to play 40k, don't play 40k.
And I mean, for all intents and purposes, we're still playing 40k because we'll pick some battle or we'll pick some characters and make sure they're in the game, make sure they're represented well. But in Xenos Rampant, there's actually like tank rules and infantry perform like infantry. so I don't have to spend 12 hours memorizing everything. I can think that's a squad of heavy infantry. I understand how that's supposed to operate on like a fundamental, you know, common sense level, and that I can play that way, and I won't be blindsided by 80 separate special rules across 40 supplements that I cannot afford or be bothered to buy.
Oh, what's that? Oh, it's GW's lawyer here to sue you for putting 40k property into non-40k games. I'm sorry, Joe.
Well, they can ameliorate this by sending me some 40k crap and the new rulebook, and I'll happily give that a review. There we go. I'm a grumpy former customer. Win me back.
You know, John Games Workshop was out there, and he was just about to subscribe to our Patreon for $3,000 a month. And you know what? You blew it, but that's okay. We can still do the podcast. It's fine.
Mr. Workshop, if you're listening, it's still a good, fun lore and still beautiful models, but my god, that game's unplayable. No, okay, alright, fine. Kill Team! The skirmish game that requires, I don't know, a dozen models max per side, that is a tight game. That is played regularly down at my club. Everyone loves it. I am more than willing to go to bat for Kill Team. So
Noted.
it's not like they can't make good rules. They just 40k itself is so bloated it needs to die like Warhammer Fantasy did. So right, that's the. I mean, how do we talk? So, anyways, 40k is a tabletop war game and extended property of books and TV shows now and movies and all kinds of fun stuff and
Movies
video
soon,
games.
yeah. Netflix series with Henry Cavill,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just going to be. I have to say, I'm envious of him for this. He's going to basically get to do Critical Role with his friends, but 40k, and it's like, well, happy for you, man. So you hate 40k, you love Kill Team,
Yep.
but let's talk about the digital games, though, Joe.
Okay.
Let's talk about those.
Would you believe that a 40k game is one of my favorite Civilization type games?
I can because I've heard you talk about it.
I guess you would, right? Warhammer Gladius is great, and I will always sing its praises because it is unabashedly just takes what works with the Civilization type game and just wholesale dispenses with what doesn't. So if you're playing Civ 6, at least when I'm playing Civ 6, I find the diplomacy AI to be atrocious. And I find the enemy's ability, or the opposing player's whatever ability to craft a working civilization to mostly suck. So when I actually do go and conquer stuff, they have cities in stupid areas, or they've never built the right stuff, or, it's kind of whack. With Gladius, they said, forget it, this is entirely a military focused Civ game. 4X game, right? Explore,
Mm-hmm.
something, exterminate, yada yada. And by doing that, they cracked the code. There's no diplomacy to worry about. There's no trading to worry about. There is
Just
exploring.
violence.
Yeah, explore, find the enemy, destroy the enemy, or be destroyed. And it fixes the problem that a lot of those 4X games have with a lull at the end. Because the way the maps are laid out, in every game I've played to completion, and okay, it's not like I've played 100 games, but I played a fair few, you end up with some early game war against your immediate neighbor, and that is a small probing war of skirmishing units as you're building up. Then you have some middle tier wars where you've taken over that territory and now you're expanding and you're hitting the winner of the other battle somewhere. And you both have more land. You're both fighting over that, and that can pick up. And then once you conquer that, you look across, other side of those guys' territory, and oh look, there's the other guy who did what you just did and took over the other half of the planet. And then the end game is a planet-wide, battle to the death, perfectly 40k. Super on brand, and it's fun. It's all the techs you're building are either helping your units or they are helping you build more things to get better units. And that's all you need. The almost every faction's in there now. You can get pretty diverse games trying to play Tau versus say Tyranids or Imperial Guard versus Space Marines. They'll have different city structure types, different unit types. Uh, there is quest lines in the game, so there's a bit of a narrative for every faction you play, where you'll have certain objectives to go run around and complete, and they'll often spawn like neutral third party, well, not neutral, third party enemies they have to fight for that particular objective or what have you. And it's just consistently a good time because the AI can make some mistakes militarily sometimes, but with how large the wars end up being, it doesn't feel bad, or at least in my experience, I haven't felt bad playing it. So it's my go-to comfort game. It's been a little bit since I played my last one, but if I'm feeling like I want to do something, but I don't want to think too hard, but I still want to get that 4x experience, I know I'm going to have fun, I'll go straight to Gladius, and that's amazing. The
Huh.
only major problem with it, and it is a big problem, is it's got that DLC model that plagues a lot of these
Oh.
games. So I think you get 4 factions with the base game, and then
Seems a
each
little bit low for a 40K game.
it is it's what is it, Eldar, Imperial Guard, Space Marines, and Orcs, I'm pretty sure. So you get some interesting gameplay with that, but then if you like it, and I think if you like the kind of game you will like it, you got to go get the DLC, and that can be a pain because the Tyranids are fun to play, the Necrons are fun to play. They have different modifiers. It's all different quest lines. The Necrons are healing themselves. They don't use food. Like it's interesting. And then there's other DLC, like extra unit packs and crap like that I hate.
Mm.
So I mean, it's not all roses because that's brutal to me.
I mean, that's just kind of the thing with these kinds of games in general these days is that they build up a decent game and then but there's room for expansion and they expand on it, but all of the expansions are are paid. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
case with everything in this sphere from not to go on too big a tangent here, but from Gladius to your Paradox grand strategy games to Total War, it's
yep.
all buying new things to add into the game, and it's just so much of it.
Hmm.
It's like I don't know. There was DLC bloat for a lot of AAA games back in the day, and I feel like that's been toned down somewhat because a lot of these games are just shifting to free to software as a service kind of games anyway. So that's a little bit different in how they manage it anyway. But in the wargaming strategy gaming sphere, it's still very, I mean, you go to like the page for EU4 or something like that today. You want the full experience, and you're not catching it on a sale. That's like what, $500-$600, something like
Yeah,
that.
and that has
It's a little
literally
bit
happened to me
ridiculous.
where I've gone to. I thought I want to play a city builder, so I looked at City Skylines because I have the base game. It's like $400 in DLC, so I
Ugh.
just didn't play it. And I know that could probably happen to people here if they enjoy the game and think, "Oh, do I want to expand?" And then they look at, not on sale. It's like $17 Canadian per DLC. Like that adds up. And some of the DLCs is kind of weird little things too. Like there's literally a DLC where a gigantic corn demon engine will spawn somewhere on the map and just wreck shit.
Corn?
Yep, Corn is one of
Huh.
the chaos gods, the chaos god of
Oh,
violence.
yes, I'm sorry. You said Corn Demon Engine, and I was thinking like an ear of it. And I was like, what are you talking about, man?
Yep, just a gigantic roll of corn just goes traipsing across the battlefield.
Steamrolling everything.
Hmm. But
Yeah,
it can be
the
fun
Chaos Demon makes a lot more sense. Okay.
because I like that DLC because you're all ready to go and then it's like, oh, there's a gigantic train thing behind my lines smashing a city. I guess I got to redirect to go fix that. But I mean, it's like a $5 DLC. And if you don't
$5
want that kind of
DLC
thing,
to have a problem.
yeah, you're paying for
Pay
another thorn in
$5,
your
have a
side.
problem.
Um, but okay, I'm not gonna stick on Gladys forever. I think it's great. It has that DLC problem, but you catch it on sale, you get the base game, play the crap out of those 4 civs. If you like it, next sale, grab a couple DLC. That'd be the way to do it.
Roger Dodger. Okay. Well, that's a winning vote from Joe.
Oh yeah,
What else? I quite liked 40K Battle Sector. I
oh
didn't play
yeah.
all of it, but Battle Sector is pretty good.
Battle Sector's
Um,
great.
I don't know what I could compare it to really, because it's a square based. I don't think it's hexes, is it?
No squares,
Squares.
you're right.
Yeah, square based game, turn based game, and you just control either some Space Marines or Necrons or Tyranids, and you just have them murder each other, and it's a pretty good, relatively low level time. I mean, you'll be controlling an army. I haven't played through everything, so I don't know what the biggest sizes get up to, but it's not too big. It's pretty manageable. So it's a nice sized company to battalion, perhaps level war game. You know, you just got squads running around, and then you beat up on each other. It's a good time. I don't know what to say about it.
I mean, I think you're getting it right. And what I like about it is, for me, that's the closest to what I feel the tabletop game should be. That number of units on the table, I mean, sorry, in the game, is
Sure.
close to what you'd have in an army on the table. And yeah, it is kind of, you got two armies beating up on each other, but they add a lot of little tactical choices in there that I love. Like weapons have optimum ranges,
Hmm.
so making sure you're positioning your guys because okay, so you're playing the campaign, you're the Blood
Facing is
Angels.
also important too.
Yep,
Yeah.
facing, reaction fire, all that fun stuff. If you're playing the single player, you are the Blood Angels fighting Tyranids. So the AI is not the greatest because they're Tyranids. They tend to be suicidally charging at you and what have you.
Well,
But
that's
then it
okay because there's a
becomes
billion of them.
exactly, it becomes a game of managing your army's resources and exploiting those tactical benefits you can get. And when you pull that off, it's really satisfying. If you can like wipe out an attack and you didn't take any damage because your Primaris Tactical Marines were at range 4, so they got a bonus to their shots, and then your flamethrower guys were able to be just out of range and move up to the in range of the flamethrower and then do that, and you had the guy calling in the airstrike and it hit the right targets. Like, that's awesome. That's really fun. And it's beautiful. The game looks great. You max all the
Yeah.
graphics. That's the best kind of Warhammer, strategy game I've seen in a long time. They put effort into the graphics and it shows. So that one is a lot of fun.
It's
Um,
nice when things look nice in our sphere. I'm not used to war games looking good, and so when I see one like that, I'm like, "What is this?" You know?
yeah, you're right. Speaking of ones that don't look good.
Oh no.
um, where is it here? Warhammer 40k Armageddon. It's a little bit of an older one, but it is basically the 40k Panzer General type. And it comes with all the good and bad of Panzer General type games. So if you like Panzer General stuff, Armageddon is great because it's basically following that formula exactly, but it's got a pretty 40k sheen to it. And you're literally playing the Imperial Guard defending against orcs invading Armageddon. So if you're familiar with the lore at all, right, you get Commissar Yarrick. He's one of the big characters for the Imperial Guard. Is it Thraka? I forget the name of the war boss. But there's like a rivalry between the Imperial Guard Commissar and the Orc war boss, so that you can get into that a little bit. It has basically every possible unit modeled. Every variant of Lehman Russ battle tank, that's all in there. The only downside is it's a Panzer General game, so if you don't like those types, you're not going to enjoy this.
That's the
And
interesting thing about the Panzer General games is that they're just they're fine. They're fine.
yeah, they
There's just
were
so much of them.
amazing 30 years ago, and there can still be a fun one here and there, but I personally get kind of tired of the formula, I think. But
That's our
also
take on Armageddon.
there's no animation, so stuff will like
Oh,
you have a flat image of a unit, it'll shuffle across the hexes with a little marching sound, and then you'll get a little animated like pew pew pew, explosions and whatnot when they shoot at each
When
other.
did this come out?
I thought it would tell me here. Nope, 2014.
2014, and there's no animations.
Yeah, I mean there's
Interesting.
little poofs of smoke and stuff, but yeah, the units don't move.
Huh.
Um, and there again, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of DLC here,
Of course.
which add more missions and some Space Marines and whatnot. But I mean,
Hooray.
it's fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't finish the campaign for that one because it does the Panzer General thing where it just gets absurd in the end. But there's very few games where I get to have Leman Russ battle tanks next to Titans, next to um, Imperial Guardsmen and some Space Marines, right, blowing away
Mm-hmm.
orcs. So that one's good. And also, I guess for the purposes of our talk here, we're not going back to the games from the 90s because,
No.
I mean,
No, no,
you
no.
can pick them up on GOG for really cheap, but at this
I
point, they've
guess
pretty
all
much
we
all
have
been
to say about
superseded.
the older games is Dawn of War 1 and 2, yes. Dawn of War 3, no.
Yeah, those are two very different, or three very different games, aren't they?
All three of them are very different from each
Yeah.
other. One is scaled kind of like Battle Sector, where it's like kind of end up being pretty large tabletop sized battles with units, and they got all of the I don't know, what you would expect from when you think 40k and guys murdering each other across space and everything. That's kind of what you get. Dawn of War 2 is the company of heroes ified Dawn of War. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think it's what a lot of people expect from it. Dawn
Yeah.
of War 3 is a MOBA and it's bad.
I actually picked up Dawn of War 3 in the last sale for, I think,
No!
$5.
No, Joe,
So
why?
I'm a critic and an academic. I
A
gotta,
glutton for punishment is what you are.
I actually do like really shitty games.
Oh man.
But yeah, I want to take a look at it and see what all the fuss is about.
It's not good. It's just really not good.
I'm sure it's not. I mean, I'm sure not everybody's wrong or anything. It's just
You're
it
gonna
was
be the
cheap.
one
It
guy that
was
ends up
there.
liking it. It's gonna be just you.
Just be some contrarian like, push up my glasses. You guys don't
Oh,
get
well,
Dawn of War
actually.
3.
God.
But the thing with Dawn of War 2 is I was a little off put by it, like you said, because it brings it right down to like the man to man level where you have a squad or a couple squads of guys, and each one, I guess it's still squad to squad, but you're basically commanding a hero and his entourage, right?
Yeah.
But it is really fun cooperative to play the campaign. So you split the army in half, so you control two squads, your friend controls two squads, you're make sure you get the items, you're communicating about the objectives, you're trying to do the side missions to push back the Tyranid invasion. I had a great time playing the campaign cooperatively.
I did not even know that it was cooperative. That's good to know.
I think that's where it really shines. And I guess from that ish era, I'd like to talk about
War
Battlefleet
games.
Gothic.
Oh, yeah.
hmm Battlefleet Gothic 2 specifically, because I don't have one, I just have two. But I think it's one of those cases where 2 just improves on 1 in every shape. So, don't do 1.
Battlefleet Gothic 2. Tell us about that, Joe.
So that one is the space combat in Warhammer 40k. Because almost everything 40k is ground combat, right? Talk about ships, so ships will be around there, but you don't really like engage with it. It's all happening on the planet side. But Battlefield Gothic is fleet action in 40k space, which is just absolutely bonkers in all like the best fun ways. Like the Imperial Navy, here's a gigantic tube with a ram on the front of it and a cathedral city. Because, yes, their ships will have cathedrals. The Tyranid ships are alive, so they pop in blood when you kill them. But as like a game, I think it's really solid because the campaign is you have like an overview where you're shifting your fleets around to different planets to fight over them, and then you can build things on those planets to, get more ships or improve defenses and what have you. So you have like this wider command game where you're trying to preserve your fleets and win battles and move things around. And then you have the tactical game where you're controlling individual ships. And it's a real time strategy game. So it's on like a 2D plane. You have your beautiful crafted ships, and they're gorgeous.
It is
Um,
kind of interesting that it's like a 2D plane when it's space combat. I'm not
yeah,
really complaining. I just know that some people did take umbrage with that.
yeah. It's well because it's trying to mirror the board game, right, or the miniature game Battlefield Gothic, I think, which of course is on 2D plane. But also, I think you'll find not many space games really embrace the 3D. I mean, there's Homeworld, but I don't know too many others that do it. Most games I played, like, was it Star Wars Empire War? That one's 2D.
Yeah, that's also 2D.
Well, most of them seem to be 2D, and like it's great to be able to do 3D, but also it's hard to play and hard to code, I'm sure. So 2D playing just kind of works out, right? And with Warhammer, it's so bombastic and nuts that they're basically just boats, anyways. So,
They
I
are
mean,
just boats. They're just
yeah,
really big ships.
your ramming is viable and important tactic. Like, and some ships are great at broadsiding because why not?
Yeah.
So it can be really fun. That's another one where you have to try and think of the individual strength and weaknesses of your ships. Time the special powers each ship has, so you're kind of toggling from ship to ship and firing off a power here and there to do a
Boarding
boarding
actions.
action. Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And I mean, it can be a pain to get to run. I had to mess around with some driver stuff to actually make it work. So buyer
Really?
beware. Yeah,
I never had any
and
problems with it.
yeah, I mean, look around. There's some persistent issues with getting to run on certain cards. I have an AMD graphics card, which I guess was the biggest mistake of my life. But
Yeah, have they fixed that combat mission 2 issue yet?
nope. So I've been putting off the review because I was hoping against hope, but my review's going to come out and it's basically going to be, you know, warning: this game causes seizures. So
Hooray.
yeah, I've tried. I've tried a few different things. I'm not rolling my drivers back to 2021 to make it work. I've been able to do some tweaks where it only flashes most of the time, not every explosion. But yeah, I'm not gonna. I really want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's impossible at this point. They take so much and they give so little back. Anyways, that was my aside, my diatribe. Um, Battlefield Gothic, absolutely recommend. Super fun game, and it actually pulls up some interesting lore. This that happened. That game takes place at the destruction of Cadia. Spoilers. The planet Cadia gets blown up when
I
the
think everyone knows at this point.
yeah, it was like years ago. But it was,
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, the story never moved, right? It was always
Yeah,
right on the
I
cusp of
was
the 13th
under the
Crusade.
impression that it was just one of those things where it was like all of these the universe is so big that there's no actual story that progresses. Things just kind of happen.
Yeah, you were just
And then
perpetually
that
at this
happened
time.
and I was like, "Oh, well, get a load of this."
hmm And that was their attempt to push things forward. So yeah, the game starts. The tutorial is the Chaos Forces smashing an arc into Cadia and blowing it up, and it's as crazy as a tutorial can get. You start as some space wolves, and they're fighting a losing battle, and then you switch over to the Navy, because of course space marines have their own fleets because they have to.
Wolves.
It's wolves. And the space wolves were all about, fly me closer so I can board them because
Hit them
forget
with my
using
sword, yeah.
cannons. Yeah. But yeah, that one is a lot of fun if you can get it to work. I haven't played multiplayer. I know people do, and it can be fun and competitive, but it's that's never really been my thing. But I really enjoy the single player story mode, and I mean to go back to it. I haven't played all the campaigns, and I think I will. So there. Now, any shitty games? Because we're not really talking about shitty games.
I haven't played any like bad Warhammer 40k games myself that I can remember. There was a mobile game that I played, but even that ended up being pretty decent, all things considered. I don't remember what it was called.
Mm,
Um, because I stopped playing it because I was like, oh, what am I doing with my life? But it was just one of those mobile games where you get to move a couple of hero units around and use. I don't know, like the 40K property is being sold off to a lot of people right now that are making pretty decent stuff with it. Is the thing. It's not, they're normally there aren't really any stinkers. The,
Yeah,
the the
we're
worst the
past that.
worst we generally see is kind of like it's okay.
Hmm. There was a time when everything was crap, though.
Oh yes,
um,
that was pre Dawn of War 1,
yeah,
and then kind of post Dawn of War 1.
Dawn of War is a bit of a flash in the pan, I think. So, like, 2003 had Fire Warrior. You ever play that?
That's not a war game.
I know, but it's a Warhammer 40k game,
No,
and
I didn't play
I
Fire Warrior.
beat it. So I feel a need to tell the world that I actually freaking slogged through Fire Warrior. I feel like I should stream it.
Like that Vietnam game.
Yeah,
That
that was
bad.
good though. That was fun. Yeah, we can do Fire Warrior.
Uh, another game I played. I don't actually know if you got around to this. Is uh oh, I have to remember the name of this thing. Warhammer 40K. Colon Chaos Date. Chaos, excuse me, Chaos Gate dash Demon Hunters, because it has to have just this incredibly long name.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I played Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate from like 93,
Well, this
98.
is
Sorry.
that, but Demon Hunters, apparently.
Hmm.
And what it is you play a group of Grey Knights, which for those of you who don't understand 40K stuff, is basically like what if your Space Marine was also able to shoot lasers out of his eyes, basically. Um, they got mind powers and whatnot. And so the idea of this is that basically it's kind of an XCOM like. You move around the whole this planetary sector, and you're just trying to stop the forces of
Chaos.
I can't remember his name.
Chouse.
The stinky guy.
Nurgle.
Nurgle. Yeah, you're trying to stop plagues from breaking out because of Nurgle. And so you're just juggling from place to place, and you've got these different classes of units, and they can do different things, and you can equip them with all these different weapons and everything. And it's just a nice, fun XCOM like sort of deal, and they can, just blow people away with their bolters or hit people with a sword and cut them in half and stuff. It's like it's 40K. I don't know what else to say about it. It's like a 40K XCOM game,
Hmm.
and that is a good thing.
Pretty sure Andy Serkis voices one of the Demon Hunters.
He does, yes. He voices your boss.
See that's awesome. Go get
Yeah,
followed
he's
around by
there.
Smeagol.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like that though.
I actually really want to play that one. I was just hoping to catch it on sale one day because
It's
that
pretty good. I recommend it. It's tougher than I was anticipating. Some of these games really don't mess around these days. Although I feel like, to be fair, difficulty in a lot of these games is mostly just what is the enemy's health pool look like, which
yeah,
I
that
feel
can be
like
a
is a
thing.
little bit it's a little cheap. It's a little cheap.
That's
But you know.
one of my problems with the Panzer General likes is you get to the point where like the midway point, any of those campaigns, any of those games, and it's okay. You hit the midway point. Here is 8 million Panzer fours and 2 million Tigers. Have fun. And it's like okay, all right, like yeah, I can sit here and grind through this, but am I gonna have fun at this point? And I guess I'm not gamer enough to want to do that.
Yeah, I get you.
But similar to Chaos Gate is Mechanicus. That's another a little bit older, a little bit cheaper um, XCOM style game where you play as the Adeptus Mechanicus, the tinkerers and builders from Mars who are infiltrating a Necron something or other and trying to steal artifacts. So you're playing against Necrons. It's got a bit of a dungeon crawl, push your luck thing as the overhead game, and then it zooms into the tactical, and it's an XCOM battle with your um, heavily modified and upgraded little robot dudes against ancient, heavily modified robot dudes. But that
It's like
one's
a mecha fight.
yeah, and the more mecha you are, the better you do against the other mechas. So that one's cool, and it's got the same vibe. And I think it's a bit cheaper, and it's not Space Marines for once, which is always interesting.
It's always just about Space Marines.
I mean, yeah, it's what they do, right? And wish they would get away from it because the Space Marines are interesting in the sense that you have a literal fascist Ubermensch running around, and I wish they like interacted more with that part of it instead of just making them the poster boy because they go chainsaw, yeah, like
I
let's
mean, the chainsaw
let's
is cool. Yeah, we all know this.
yeah. So like I want to get more into the, and some of the books do. I just wish games would show them as the absolute horrors they are instead of being all about them being cool.
I think. Well, there's the Rogue Trader game is coming out relatively soon. I would imagine
Yes.
that's probably going to lead more into that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And that's an RPG, but super, super good looking.
Combat RPGs are adjacent to war games.
Yeah.
They're not
You're
there,
doing
but they're
tactical
adjacent.
decisions and
You
whatnot.
can talk. You can. Yeah, you think about things. There's a brain involved. You can.
I think our
I
definition of
I
war
would
game
say that we could call that
shifts.
a war game, huh?
Our definition of war game shifts as needed, and that's perfectly fine.
Do I like it and want to talk about it? It's a war game.
Yeah. Does someone mention war somewhere? Is war
Game.
literally in the title? Then you're good.
Game. Exactly. Yes. Uh,
So
I don't have any other 40k games in my library. You've mentioned everything.
yeah. I mean, let me just brush
I
up
mean,
on
all
the
the
old
other
Steam
40k
here.
games that I have are not war games. I mean, there's Space Marine, which I mean, I have nothing but praise for
Yeah.
at this point, honestly. And then there's Dark Tide, which is fine. It's getting better, I've heard. There was a 40k MMO game
Oh
that was
yeah.
around for a while that closed down. Not like an MMO, but it was like a big multiplayer shooter. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, it was like
Um,
a
Eternal
battlefield
Crusade.
type. It was not
Warhammer
good.
40k Eternal Crusade. It got shut down, which was unfortunate because even though it wasn't very good, it was just a fun time running around and shooting each other in a 40k setting. Who
Yep.
doesn't like doing that?
It's it kind of sort of half did what it said in the tin, and when you could lose yourself in it, it was fun. You know
Yeah,
that was fun to be an orc or space marine, just battlefield go ham on each other. I wish they
yeah,
did more with it because this is a perfect setting for a battlefield type game. Like if there was actually
exactly.
a 40k battlefield, I'd buy that. I'd play that, no problem. There's the boomer shooter coming out. What's that called? It's called Chainsword or something, or Heavy Bolter
Bolt
or
gun, I think.
Bolt Gun. That's it. And that's gonna be fun because that's like a Duke Nukem Doom style, old school run around shoot everything type game. And that's just leaning right into the crazy of 40k, and it's got like a '90s thing going on. So old timey guys like me, hopefully it'll be a lot more lore stuff I'm familiar with. Um, there was also I have my list here.
Do you have a favorite non 40k game that has a lot of 40k vibes?
Ooh, what an interesting thing. So I gotta think about this. If you'd asked me about Warhammer Fantasy, I would have an answer ready.
Sure.
That's Dominions, by the way. But for 40k, something that just gets that vibe. Because there's some games that really do pull that aesthetic and that vibe and do a good job with it. I guess
If I can
honorable.
be honest,
Mhm.
Tom Clancy's End War.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's the notable game for the fact that it was the one that had all those voice controlled units and everything. It was like, oh, this is so next gen and everything. But at the end of the day, it's World War III breaking out, but you're controlling a division of hyper guys. Like they're all special forces infantry, snipers, etc., so on and so forth, and specialized engineers, tanks, APCs, and everything. So you're basically running around with super guys, and then on the field there's also regular military folks, and so you already feel supercharged compared to these things, and then you go slug it out with the enemy's supercharged guys and just dunk on their normal dudes as well. And then there's tactical nuclear strikes and things like that. It feels very 40k in that regard.
That's fun. I do have one. I'm trying to find it, but that's the best pitch for End War that I've ever heard because that game was completely off my radar. So I thought,
It's fine. It's a very fine game.
mm,
And it filled a niche of casual tactical games. It's kind of a shame it was overlooked as much as it was.
hmm I actually might check that out at some point now. Okay, I'm
Pretty
looking
good.
at my list because I'm going to find it. It's basically a space 4X type game with a bit of Crusader Kings in there, and it feels like you're. Oh, okay, all right. I've got a couple here. I'm looking through my list and things are coming up. If you want an actual 40k first-person shooter slash RPG thing, the game is called I Divine Cybermancy.
Oh man.
Have you played that?
No,
Oh my
I
god,
know quite a bit about it from everyone talking about it.
I
That is quite a thing.
fucking love it. That is the most 40k game I've ever played because it is entirely off the wall. It's super fun. Uh, I would love to play a co-op because I have not done that yet. But you can get like a bunch of people, and then you can co-op through the main game, and it just gets absurd.
Oh boy.
So yeah, pick it up and we'll play some of that. It goes on sale for like pennies. All right, now where's this space game I played because I've got it here. I just need to.
Dynasties, Space Dynasties, something like that. Was that it?
That might actually be it. I need to look at the cover because there's a 40k mod for it, but even without the mod, it plays like 40k where you're gathering planets, sending your space marines, your fleets over there to mess shit up, and
Sure.
basically genociding everything else. But in a high gothic kind of way. And it's the aesthetic that really matters when you're going to be murdering everything.
Yeah.
God damn it! Might have to like put this in the end notes or something. So where the hell is this game? This is the problem when you have a 700 games in your Steam library. I don't apologize.
Star Dynasties?
I think that's it. Search for Star.
Take the reins of a feudal dynasty in a divided galaxy following the destruction of Earth.
Oh,
Star Dynasties is a turn-based, procedurally generated narrative of human drama and personal politics, mixed with a light empire management layer. Your choice is your legacy. That is the thing that it says on it.
so that one is the better game, but that's more Dune than 40k. It's
Oh, I
Stellar
see.
Monarch, which is the 40k one.
Stellar Monarch?
Yep. Which is
Huh.
very similar, but it's older, more indie, and it feels more 40k with how it approaches the violence, I guess. Whereas Star Dynasties I like, but it's very much a Crusader Kings in space where it's all about the people. And war is your means to just get one up on the other family,
I see.
Also a lot of fun though. That one's good. I should go back and play that again. There's not enough time in the world, Jack. There's not enough time.
That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, I think that's a pretty good take on the current patch of 40k games.
Yeah, I suppose the short version is it's at 40k is in a really good place with digital games. Don't touch the tabletop game. Don't do it.
And you're free to at me and tell me why the current 40k
At Joe,
game is.
don't at me about it.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to hear it.
leave Jack out of this.
It
If you
won't
want
mean
me.
anything to me. You'll be like, "What do you mean the Space Marines are bad with their Scooby Doos or whatever?" And I'll be like, "I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know anything about wound rolls or reinforcing the schlongs. I don't know. I don't know what you do in 40k
You're so
tabletop."
close. Reinforcing the schlong wounds.
The schlong.
But yeah,
Well, I think that wraps it up here for us this week.
that's a good high note to end on.
Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks everyone for tuning in to listen to us talk about our schlong. Sorry, our
Hey, you all out there just signed up for me to let's play with the Tau shooter game. What's it called again?
Fire Warrior.
Fire Warrior
Yeah.
on stream, and then we're gonna start playing through some good ones. Let's do a
Schlong Warrior.
I Divine Cybermancy run where we can probably get
I'm
some Schlong
gonna
Warriors.
be stuck on that whole thing. Schlong Warriors, yes.
Don't you know the famous
I
Space Marine chapter of the Schlong
I
Warriors?
Divine Cybermancy clan is called the Schlong Warriors.
Mm-hmm. They have a prestigious.
We're gonna get you.
Horus Heresy lineage or something.
Look out! It's us, the Schlong Warriors. We're gonna get you. There are some I don't want to say better games perhaps, but there are some other things that I think would be interesting to stream. Coming up soon, there's the new expansion for Crusader Kings 3, which is going to actually place the character on the map.
Ooh.
And that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Great War, Western Front. I recently picked up to write a review, and that's one of the 4 reviews I'm working on writing at the moment. And that is something that I would like to maybe stream at some point. So there's a few things that are probably going to be coming down the pipe at some point for your twitchy eyes to look at.
Mm-hmm. Well, as always, I'm here for it.
Well, on that note, I think we can close out. Again, thank you everyone for listening. We do appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas, if you have something you want to write about and want somewhere to post it, we would be more than happy to host it on our site. I mean, we don't get paid, so we wouldn't be able to pay you, but we would happily put it on the site to boost viewership of it and definitely credit you and everything. You have any thoughts about games? It doesn't even have to be a review. It could be just thinking about war games or anything like that. You know, give us a shout. We would be happy to do that. Any other thoughts, Joe? I think that's
no, I like that.
Oh yeah, find Joe on Twitter at Joe Fonseca Hist. You can find me at Smoothest Jazz with 1 Z. Some other bastard is sitting on the Smoothest Jazz with 2 Z's.
I mean, if you go to Twitter, I might. If you directly at me, I'll probably catch it. But I mean, I'm not usually on Twitter anymore. It's kind of a disgusting hell site.
You're not on Discord either anymore.
I'm on Discord sometimes.
That's not true.
I was just this morning. I was helping or talking to Snuggle Bunny about something or other.
Wow! Oh, shout out to Snuggle Bunny.
Yeah, Snuggle Bunny. Go watch his stuff on YouTube. It's actually really good. Really good.
Join our Discord. You can meet him and other fine folks that do wargaming. My boy Sam in there has been talking about his Mordheim shenanigans, and we've gotten to see what his Bretonnian peasants are getting up to in Mordheim, which is mostly having violence done to them.
Absolutely love those, by the way. Love those updates. Love seeing models, people painting their stuff.
Yeah, love doing Let's Plays. If you want to just swing by our Discord, you know you're doing a tabletop war game kind of session, show us pictures. I love looking at pictures. It makes my brain go wee. So swing by and make my brain go wee. That's all I got to say about that. Otherwise, if you were looking for game partners or anything like that, happy to help arrange things. It's been a minute since we've done some kind of tournament or something. Perhaps we should do another Field of Glory tournament in the future.
Field of Glory is fun. Did that naval game. That was fun. Did some enlisted before. That was good too.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Anyway, what we're saying is come hang out with us. We're very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that this is the 3rd time I said we're closing out, but we're actually going to do it this time. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to us. Goodbye.
Bye.
We're closing now. I swear.
No.
I'm stopping it.
Do it.
Bye.